Hi, I'm Tash. Welcome to Tash's Library. Today's video is going to be my stats for 2022. So not a video for everyone because I am a bit of a stats nerd and I have a lot of pie charts to show you. So yeah, if you're not into that, you may not like this one. So check out one of my other videos instead. First of all, 2022 was an awesome reading year for me. I read 131 books across a number of genres and formats, and so I'm going to go through some of those. Did read 56,815 pages in all, and I also read 4 short stories. I did beat my Goodreads goal of 100 books by quite a bit, so I'm very, very proud of that achievement. I think 2022 was one of those years where reading became just so important to me, and I wasn't watching television, and I was finding that it was a great way to unwind after work. I so enjoyed most of the books that I read. Let's have a look at some of the stats. So first of all, looking at series versus standalones. As you know, I am predominantly a fantasy and sci-fi reader, and therefore a lot of the books I read are series. In 2022, 76% of the books I read were part of a series, and I completed 7 series, which I'm proud of, but I did start 29. And 2023 looks like I'm just going to keep starting series, and hopefully I'll finish some more as well. So that left 24% standalones. Now, the general age range for the books that I read were predominantly adult books. So 89% of the books I read were for adults. I did delve a little bit into middle grade. I found it a lovely palate cleanser, and sometimes when you have a bad day, it's kind of nice to read a middle grade book. And so that comprised 6% of my books for the year, and then YA came in at 5%. In terms of genre, predominantly fantasy. So 66% of the books I read were fantasy. This is no surprise. This is my favorite genre, and it's the genre that I was most enthused with. However, I did make a concerted effort this year to read more sci-fi. I hadn't normally enjoyed sci-fi, and I think that's maybe partly me, because probably when I was reading it, it wasn't my style at the time. I think I was also trying to read some of the older style ones, which weren't grabbing me. But last year I tried a few, and it's become my second favorite genre. And so this comes in at 24% of the books that I read. The other books are pretty much comprised of a smattering of romance, mystery thriller, horror, some non-fiction, and a graphic novel. In terms of ratings, my average rating for the year was 4.09, which is incredibly high. And I attribute this to the fact that most of my book choices were very carefully made after watching reviews and looking at ratings for books, going for recommendations by booktubers, by friends, and therefore I think I curated my TBR very, very well. And this has led to a very high rating for me. I don't think I've ever had a rating that high before, because I'd normally just stumble across books, give them a go, and most of them are like meh. But last year, awesome. I gave 5-star ratings to 45 of the books that I read, and gave 4-star ratings to 50 of the books that I read. So that's a good proportion of my 131 books. I then gave 3 stars to 33 books, and gave 2 stars to 2 books, and 1 star to 1 book. So I'm very happy that I really gave very few 1 and 2 star ratings in 2022. In terms of formats, I do love a physical book, and this is I've probably bought a few more books in 2022 than I have in previous years. And so I think I've shifted from ebook to physical book a lot more. So I end up reading 78 books in physical format. Most of these were mass paperback with a few trade paperbacks thrown in as well. And then ebook came in second at 38 books. Now, very unusual for me, I actually read 15 audiobooks. I've probably mentioned before that audiobooks are really not my thing. I struggle with oral concentration, and I think I miss a lot when I listen to a book in audio format. And in 2023, I think I'm going to try and steer away from audio for any books that I haven't read previously. So I'm going to use audio predominantly for rereads of favorites. So when I'm driving, I might listen to things like Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and books I'm very, very familiar with, because then if I miss something, it's okay because I've read them often enough that I know the story. For regard to length, 50% of the books that I read in 2022 were between 300 and 500 pages, which is fairly substantial. And 6 of them were 700 to 800 pages. 7 was 600 to 700 pages. 12 of them were less than 200 pages. And so this brings in an average book length of about 441 pages. I'm very pleased with this. As I mentioned, I did read over 56,000 pages in 2022, which I'm very happy with. The shortest book I read was A Dead Gin in Cairo by P. Jelly Clark, and this came in at 43 pages. And the longest book was Pandora's Star by a long shot. This is by Peter F. Hamilton and came in at 1,144 pages. I'm proud of that. I'm thinking I'm going to surpass that in 2023, especially since I do need to read the sequel to Pandora's Star, which is Judas Unchained, which comes in at a little bit longer. So we shall see. I'm sure I'm going to surpass that figure. That is pretty much it. Those are my stats for 2022. Hopefully they weren't too boring. I love pie charts, so I figured I'd share them for those of you who share those interests. Thank you for watching my video, and till I catch you next time, take care.